I was 66 years old when the past finally caught up to me. It was late afternoon on Highway 94, just outside Hartswell, Georgia, the kind of back road where the trees lean in close like they're trying to overhear your thoughts. I was sitting on my suitcase waiting for the Greyhound that was already 2 hours late, sweat beading under the collar of my jacket. Fall in the South isn't cold. It just pretends to be. A semi-truck rumbled into view, air brakes sighing as it slowed in front of me. Big rig. Maroon cab. Single headlight flickering like a heartbeat. I stood before I could think twice. Reflex more than decision. The driver leaned out the window. "You need a lift?" he asked. I hesitated. I hadn't hitchhiked since I was a teenager, and the world was kinder back then. Or maybe I was just dumber. Before I tell you what happened next, subscribe to the channel and let me know in the comments what time it is where you are watching from. It helps more than you know. He tapped the side of the cab like it was a friendly pat on a dog's head. "Come on. I ain't going far. But I can get you out of this heat." His voice didn't sound dangerous. It sounded tired, like someone who'd been awake too long and seen too much. Against my better judgment, I climbed in. The cab smelled like diesel, pine air freshener, and black coffee. Maps were spread across the dash. Actual paper maps, creased and marked with red pen. He handed me a bottle of water and pulled back onto the road. "I'm Jonah," he said. "Most folks call me Root." "Edgar," I replied. "Just Edgar is fine." He nodded. "You look like a man trying to disappear." Not a question. A statement. I didn't answer. The truth was complicated, because when my wife Anna died last spring, something inside me snapped loose. Not grief. Grief I understood. It was the way people looked at me afterward. Like I was breakable. Like I was next. Like my life had already been sorted into paperwork folders. I had spent 3 decades working internal audits for private contractors. I knew exactly how estates get carved up and traded when families grow impatient. I wasn't about to become an itemized list. We drove in silence for a while, the road humming beneath us. Jonah didn't push. He seemed like the kind of man who lets stories tell themselves. But when we passed a gas station, he flinched. Not a big movement. Just a twitch. A recognition. It happened again at the next one. By the third, his jaw had tightened so much I could hear his teeth grind. "You all right?" I asked. "Depends," he muttered. "You got folks looking for you?" I turned to him, heart thudding. "Why would you ask that?" He didn't answer. His eyes stayed locked on the mirrors like they were windows to a storm only he could see. Then, without warning, he eased onto the shoulder and killed the engine. "Don't panic," he murmured. "Just sit still." He reached over and with a single click locked the cab doors. Then he leaned closer, voice barely above a breath. "Don't say a word." I froze. Jonah nodded ahead. Through the windshield, past the bug-splattered glass and sun-faded dash, I saw the rusted sign for a roadside diner. Benton's Place. The kind of spot that served everything with extra grease and suspicious hospitality. But that wasn't what made Jonah lock the doors. No, it was the black sedan sitting crooked near the entrance. Tint so dark it swallowed reflections. Hood still warm. A silhouette in the driver's seat. Even from here I could feel the stare. Jonah exhaled slowly. "They've been following us since Hartswell," he said. "I thought they'd peel off by the county line, but they're sticking." "How do you know it's them?" I whispered. He looked at me. Really looked at me. "Because I've seen that car before. Same model, same plates, different cities, different years." His voice cracked like old wood. "You're not the only one they've tracked." My pulse hammered. "Who?" I asked. "Who are they?" Jonah put the truck back in gear, hands trembling only slightly. "You ever hear of a company called Red Crest Solutions?" I swallowed hard. "Yes." He nodded once like that confirmed everything. "Then you already know," he said. "You weren't running from them." He checked the mirror again. "They were running you into me." My blood turned to ice. Because in that moment, locked inside a stranger's truck on a deserted Georgia highway, I realized something I hadn't even considered. I hadn't escaped Red Crest at all. I had walked straight into their hands. The semi lurched forward, gravel spitting from under its wheels as Jonah pulled us away from the diner. He didn't rush. He didn't floor it. He rolled out slow, like a man trying to look casual with a bomb in his pocket. I kept my eyes on the mirror. The black sedan didn't move. Not yet. Jonah's knuckles were pale against the steering wheel. "You don't look surprised," he said quietly. "I'm not," I replied. I wasn't. Shock is something you feel when the world changes shape in front of you. Redcrest solutions didn't change things. They eroded them, piece by piece, until you woke up one morning and realized every decision you made had been softly guided somewhere you never intended to go. "I used to work for them," I said. "Consultant Compliance Division. I audited budgets nobody was supposed to see." Jonah let out a low whistle. "So you touched their money." I thought I was stopping fraud. Turns out I was cleaning the trail. His jaw tightened. "That explains the sedan." He took the next turn without signaling, as if instinct alone guided him, weaving us deeper into the back roads, past fields of rusted tractors and abandoned smokehouses. Pines swallowed the skyline. The road wavered like a heat mirage. "You said I walked right into their hands," I murmured. "What did you mean?" He didn't answer immediately. He waited until the road straightened, until the nearest house was a speck half a mile behind us, until the air inside the cab felt like a confession booth. "Because I've seen that same sedan," he said. 5 years ago in Tennessee, then in Meridian, then 6 months back, outside my sister's place. "What does Redcrest want with you?" I asked. Jonah swallowed, Adam's apple bobbing like a warning. "They want the routes, the deliveries, the tracking logs." He tapped the dashboard. "This truck ain't just hauling produce, Edgar." Cold sweat prickled my neck. "What are you carrying?" "Proof." The words seemed to vibrate against the metal interior. "Manifest sheets, shipment schedules, license transfers. They've been laundering whole fleets through shell companies. Trucks that never existed on paper suddenly pop up with clean titles. Once they got a full network, they could run anything. Guns, medicine, people. All without the government ever seeing a blip. And you found the crack in the system," I said. "I reported it," Jonah replied. "To the wrong person." I closed my eyes. I knew that story. Different details, identical structure. Good people lost, in the gears of a machine designed to grind. When I opened them again, Jonah was staring ahead. "There's a way station north of here," he said. "Run by a guy I trust. If we get there, we can dump copies of the logs. Spread them to the right people, make it impossible to bury." He hesitated. "But that sedan moves when you move. They won't let you reach a jurisdiction line alive." "Alive?" I echoed. Jonah didn't look at me. "There ain't a protocol for retrieval." Silence spilled between us like water finding every crack. I thought about my wife, Anna, the way she used to peel oranges for me, always leaving a single strip of rind like a ribbon. The way she laughed with her whole body. The way she'd warned me before the cancer took her that I needed to stop reading files after midnight, like the world would die if I didn't. I thought about how she'd grabbed my hand in hospice and whispered, "Promise me you won't disappear when I do." I never promised. Maybe I should have. "Jonah," I said quietly, "if we get stopped." He cut me off, voice like steel. "We won't." Another turn, another stretch of forest. The sedan was nowhere in sight, but I didn't relax. "The scariest hunter is the one who doesn't rush." "You said they were tracking me," I murmured. "How?" He reached into the glove compartment and pulled out something small, a phone. Not mine, a black flip phone with no labels. "I found it under your seat," Jonah said, "wedged in the track. Could be a tracker, could be a mic, could be both." My stomach twisted. "How long has it been there?" Jonah looked at me, really looked. "How long have you been running, Edgar?" I worked the math in my head. The bus station, the motel in Macon, the 2-day rental I ditched outside Valdosta. Every moment I thought I'd shaken them. Every moment they were 2 steps behind. "Too long," I said. Jonah nodded. He cracked a window, flicked the phone into a ditch, then rolled the glass up again. "For the next few miles," he said, "they'll think you're still sitting on Highway 94. And after that," he gave a slow, unsettling smile. "After that, they'll realize we're not prey." Up ahead, the trees parted like stage curtains, revealing a crossroads scattered with old billboards and a single blinking stoplight. The way station lay beyond it, a glint of silver and blue on the horizon. Jonah downshifted. "You ready to stop disappearing?" he asked. I flexed my hands, surprised to feel strength in them. "Yes," I said. "I am." Because as that way station came into view, I understood the truth Jonah had known all along. The only way out wasn't escape, it was confrontation, and Redcrest Solutions was about to learn exactly who they'd cornered. Jonah eased the truck off the main road and toward the way station. The building wasn't large. Concrete walls, faded blue trim, a flickering neon sign that hummed like an old insect trap. A fuel pump sat crooked near the entrance, and a flag whipped in the wind like it was trying to tear free of its pole. "This place looks abandoned," I muttered. "That's the point," Jonah replied. "Nobody pays attention to ghosts." He parked beside a rusted freight scale. The engine idled down, grumbling like it disagreed with the stop. Jonah cut the ignition. Silence poured in, thick enough to taste. The station door creaked open, and a man stepped out, maybe in his late 50s, long beard, denim shirt, state badge clipped to his belt. His eyes narrowed when he saw Jonah, then flicked to me. "Didn't expect you back," he said. Jonah climbed down. "Didn't expect to be," he answered. But things changed. The man eyed me again. "Who's this?" "Someone who knows what Redcrest is doing," Jonah said. "And someone they want gone." The man's gaze sharpened. He gave a curt nod and motioned us inside. The station's interior smelled like coffee that had been burning since last winter. Maps peeled from corkboards and a radio crackled static with the occasional voice bleeding through. A single fluorescent tube buzzed overhead, casting a pale, jittery light. "My name's Mercer," the man said. "Used to be State Transport Review. Now I keep this place going unofficial-like. Jonah says you've got evidence." "I do," I said. "And Redcrest has more. Too much. They're building an invisible corridor across the south, laundering, smuggling, asset transfer, all under corporate guardianship." Mercer's brow furrowed. "Guardianship? Not the medical kind," I said. "Corporate custody. Locking people into contracts that strip them of their rights. They did it to retirees, then to widows, now to anyone with something they want." "And you?" Mercer asked. "I left before I could finish becoming their access point," I said. "They didn't like that." Mercer turned to Jonah. "You sure about bringing him here?" Jonah didn't blink. "He's the first one they chased who made it this far." A wind gust rattled the windows. The neon sign sputtered outside. Something about the air shifted like the room leaned closer to hear more. Mercer motioned to a desk in the back. "Come on. If you've got something to show, show it." I pulled out the folder I kept tucked beneath my jacket. Paper felt heavier when it held. "Consequences." I spread the documents across the desk. Transaction routing charts, shipment logs that didn't match state entries, ghost vehicle titles with the same 5 signatures recycled like a stamp. Mercer's face paled. "I've seen these trucks," he whispered. "Checked them myself. Every single one passed inspection. Because Redcrest wrote the rules they needed followed," I said. "They made the system their alibi." Jonah shifted. "We need to broadcast this. Somewhere they can't scrub." Mercer's jaw clenched. "There's a communications room in the back. Old state uplink. If it still works, we can piggyback the files across a dozen agency servers. Enough to make it stick." "Do it," Jonah said. Mercer hesitated. His eyes softened like he was remembering something he didn't want to. "My son worked for them," he murmured. "Said it was just logistics. Said it paid better. Last message he sent me was that he needed out. Then he disappeared." Silence held like a throat closing. "I'm sorry," I said, and meant it. Mercer nodded once. "If this is how I help him, I'll do it." He moved toward the back room. Jonah followed. I stayed for a moment, letting my hand rest on the worn counter. I looked around the station, the bulletin board pinned with faded pictures of missing drivers, the rows of trucker caps left behind like abandoned flags. The radio crackled again. A voice, soft at first, then clearer. "Eastbound on 99, black sedan, 2 occupants, tracking signal regained." My heart slammed against my ribs. Jonah turned. Mercer froze. The voice continued. "Target believed to be accompanied. Advise intercept. No delays." They found us. Not by accident, not by chance, by design. I scanned the desk, spotted the radio transmitter. The knob was set to channel 14, a channel reserved for internal dispatch. Someone had locked it there. Someone had been listening. I strode to the window. Dust streaked the glass, but I could see enough. The long stretch of road leading in, the pine trees swaying like spectators, the distant hum of a car engine rolling closer. "We need to move," I said. Mercer shook his head. "If we run, the upload dies. Everything you brought dies with it. They'll kill us," Jonah said. "Then make it worth something," Mercer replied. His voice didn't shake. He pulled a revolver from the desk drawer and set it down. Not a threat, an offering. The headlights appeared. 2 beams cutting through the trees. They were close. Mercer met my eyes. "You want to stop disappearing?" he asked. "Then stay and fight." Jonah closed the blinds. I reached for the revolver. My hand didn't tremble, because as those headlights slowed outside the way station, I realized something Redcrest never expected. Fear wasn't what kept me running. It was what was waiting for me when I stopped. The way station felt smaller with the blinds shut. The air was thick, like the building itself was holding its breath. Jonah checked the back door while Mercer hurried through the comms room, switches clicking like bones being set into place. I stood near the counter, revolver heavy in my hand, heavier than I remembered guns feeling. Age changes the body, but fear changes the weight of things. "Channel uplink is live," Mercer called, "but it's slow. Takes time to push through the old grid, bounce across the federal archives. We need at least 10 minutes. 10 minutes. With Redcrest outside, 10 minutes might as well have been a lifetime." The headlights outside cut out. Darkness reclaimed the gravel. No doors slammed, no footsteps, just silence. Jonah glanced at me. "They're waiting for us to panic." I nodded. "Or for the upload to finish." Mercer leaned around the doorway. "Edgar, come here. I need you to see something." I joined him in the cramped comms room. A wall of dusty servers, ancient monitors stacked like relics, cables snaking across the floor like roots. A map flickered on one screen. A network of Redcrest's registered hubs. But Mercer had layered our coordinates over them. Small, glowing pulses. We weren't alone. Pulses blinked in Texas, Florida, Mississippi, Tennessee, and one in Alabama pulsed red. "Targets," Mercer said. "Elderly asset cases, disappeared retirees, families claiming guardianship they never asked for." I stared at the map. It stretched across the south like a scar. "You see this?" Mercer pointed at the cluster around Birmingham. "That's where my son filed his paperwork. 10 days later, he vanished." His voice cracked. Just once. Before I could speak, a sound shattered the quiet. A single knock on the way station door. Not pounding, not frantic, just one. A request or a warning. We froze. Jonah peeked through the blinds. 2 of them. Black jackets, no badges, they're not local law. I tightened my grip on the revolver. "What do they want us to do?" "Open the door," Jonah answered. "They want this easy." I exhaled. Easy never applied to men like us. Jonah backed away from the window. "We've got entrances on both sides. They might flank." Mercer cursed under his breath. "I'll stall them. You cover the back. Edgar, keep eyes on the front." I took position behind the counter, revolver low, sight line clear to the main door. The knock came again. The same rhythm like someone tapping a watch. Tick. Tock. A voice filtered. Through the door, low and smooth. "Edgar Marsh, we know you're inside." I swallowed. "You don't have to do this," I called back. "Walk away." A soft laugh. "We can't. You broke the terms of exit." Exit. It wasn't about employment, it was about ownership. I tightened my voice. "I don't belong to you." Silence. Then, "That's not your decision to make." I motioned to Jonah. He slipped toward the back hall, keeping low. Mercer returned to the comms room. The faint hum of the uploader continued. A heartbeat in wire and signal. If that upload finished, Redcrest's transactions would scatter like seeds into every corner of federal infrastructure. Someone would see it. Someone would question it. Someone would investigate. A metallic clunk echoed from the back door. Jonah whispered from the hall, "They're testing the handle." Another knock at the front. They were coordinated. I raised the revolver. "If you breach, this becomes a crime scene," the voice replied, calm as a man ordering coffee. "It already is." The back door rattled harder, metal straining. Jonah braced his shoulder against it. Mercer shouted from the comms room, 6 minutes. 6 minutes until Redcrest's reach found daylight. Footsteps crunched outside the front door. More than 2 now. At least 3, maybe 4. This wasn't retrieval, this was erasure. The adrenaline hit like a storm. My breathing slowed, vision sharpened. 66 felt like 26, not in body but in clarity. I moved to the side of the door just enough to flatten against the wall. Another voice, unfamiliar, spoke through the wood. "We saw the map. You accessed restricted data, that's federal property. So is oxygen," I muttered. "Open the door," the voice continued. "Nobody has to get hurt. They always say that, right before they try to hurt you." I gestured toward the back, shouting, "Jonah, status!" The back door boomed, something slamming against it. Jonah called back, "We're not holding much longer." Mercer's voice over the comms hum. 5 minutes. I gritted my teeth. We had to survive 5 minutes. 5 minutes in a building built for scale tickets and coffee refills. 5 minutes against trained professionals. 5 minutes with a revolver that might misfire if I breathed on it wrong. I pulled the hammer back. The click sounded like a countdown. Another slam. Another rattling window. The fluorescent light flickered overhead like it wanted to disappear too. I thought of Anna, of her last words. "Promise me you won't disappear." I whispered back to her memory. "I'm trying." Outside, engines roared to life. Backup or extraction or both. Inside, the revolver felt steady. "Mercer," I called, eyes on the door. "Tell me the second that upload hits." He didn't answer. But the silence felt like trust. Because as the hinges on the back door began to bend and Redcrest closed in from both sides, I finally understood the truth. Surviving this wasn't the victory. Finishing the upload was. The back door shrieked, metal twisting under force. Jonah braced his shoulder against it, boots sliding on the tile. 4 minutes, Mercer shouted from the comms room. 4 minutes. Just 4. The words hammered in my skull like stakes. The front door handle turned slowly, deliberately. Someone testing the give of bone before the break. I kept the revolver leveled back against the wall. My breath felt like gravel. A voice came through the door again. A new one. Female. Cold. Controlled. "Edgar Marsh," she said. "This is Dr. Ilana Ross. Step outside. We need your cooperation to correct today's miscommunication." Miscommunication. Like we were arguing over a scheduling error instead of survival. "You forged medical evaluations," I said. "You funneled people into guardianship cages. That isn't miscommunication, that's racketeering." A pause. Then quietly, "You don't understand our scope." She wasn't pleading. She was warning. The back door buckled again, a hinge cracking. Jonah cursed, body shaking under the impact. "Mercer!" he yelled. "Anything we can do from here?" Mercer's voice cut through the panic. "There's a breaker panel by you. Kill the back floodlights, make them blind." Jonah lunged, one hand still on the door, the other slapping the panel open. A row of ancient switches stared back like rotten teeth. He flipped the exterior grid. Outside, the back lot went black. I heard shouts, bootsteps scrambling as their night vision was swallowed. I moved to the side window. Through the slatted blinds, the sedan emerged under the glow of a distant billboard. Door hanging open, silhouettes shifting like shadows looking for form. 3 minutes, Mercer called. I felt those seconds shrinking inside my ribs. Dr. Ross spoke again. "You think exposure saves you, it won't. The agencies you're counting on are already carved from the inside. They'll see," I said. "And they'll pull the thread." "They won't," she replied, voice barely above a hum. "Because we designed the tapestry." Before I could answer, Jonah's shout shattered the moment. "They're breaching!" The back door split, wood and metal tearing like a snapped joint. Jonah stumbled back as 2 figures forced their way in. Tactical vests, gloved hands, practiced movement. I fired one shot into the floor just ahead of them, not to kill, to stall. The concussion ripped through the hallway, dust exploding from the drywall. "Stop!" I roared. "Another step and I don't miss." They froze. One of them raised his hands. Not surrender. Form. He tapped his headset. "Primary is armed. Proceed to option 2. Option 2? The radio on the counter crackled to life. A dispatcher's voice. "Sedate on contact. Preserve the asset." Preserve the asset. Me. The world stopped around that word. Asset. I wasn't a man. I wasn't even a target. I was a ledger entry. Jonah surged forward, tackling the nearest intruder before I could react. They slammed into the shelves, sending binders crashing like thunder. Jonah wrestled with him, fists and elbows a blur. The second intruder lunged at me, syringe glinting in his hand. I sidestepped, slammed my forearm down, sent the syringe skittering across the tile. He swung. I ducked. Age slowed me, but fear sharpened my timing. I threw the butt of the revolver into his jaw, the crack sending him sprawling. I got one moment to breathe. One. Then Dr. Ross spoke again, her voice now inside the building. "You're making this difficult." She stepped through the front door, not rushing, not hiding, calm, clinical, like an instructor inspecting a classroom. A pistol hung at her side, not raised, not idle, just present. I aimed my revolver at her. 2 minutes, Mercer shouted. Dr. Ross glanced toward the comms room, calculating. "You believe the upload cripples us. It won't. We'll pivot. We always do." I steadied my grip. "Then it forces eyes on you. That's the only start I need." A faint smile tugged her mouth. "If you shoot me, someone worse replaces me. If you run, someone faster tracks you. If you submit, someone kinder takes custody. Every door leads back to us. Then I burn the building," I said, voice like flint, "and make you rebuild from ash." Her eyes flickered. A crack, tiny as a hairline fracture. Behind me, Jonah growled, pinning the intruder to the floor. "Edgar, finish this!" Mercer's voice bellowed down the hall. 1 minute. 1 minute, Edgar." 1 minute until the files were loose. 1 minute until Redcrest couldn't shove their crimes back under the rug. 1 minute to decide if I was a man or an asset. I stepped forward, revolver still aimed, placing myself between Dr. Ross and the comms room. "For the last time," she said. "Step aside." I didn't. The revolver didn't waver. 40 seconds, Mercer yelled. My voice came out quiet, controlled. "I promised my wife I wouldn't disappear, and that starts right here." Dr. Ross studied me, the way a surgeon studies a failing heartbeat, deciding if hands or mercy fix it. Outside, engines revved, doors slammed, reinforcements. This was it, because as the final seconds drained away and Redcrest closed in like a tightening noose, I understood that surviving wasn't victory. Forcing them to be seen was. And if I had to go down to pull them into the light, then I'd drag them every step of the way. 30 seconds, Mercer shouted. Dr. Ross took one step closer. The pistol in her hand gleamed under the trembling fluorescent light. Jonah still grappled on the floor, trying to keep the intruder pinned. The air felt like a wire pulled tight, ready to snap. I tightened my grip on the revolver. "You're outnumbered," Dr. Ross said. "You can't stop the inevitable." "I don't need to," I replied. "Just need to buy time." 20 seconds, Mercer yelled. A crack of thunder echoed outside. Not weather, but gunfire. Someone returned fire from the lot. Reinforcements had arrived, but whether they were for us or them, I didn't know. Dr. Ross shifted her stance. "You don't understand the scale," she said. "You think this upload means exposure. It means noise. We survive noise." "Not when the noise becomes evidence," I said. Her jaw ticked. "After this, we will still move. We will still grow. We will still take what we need. You delay a storm, Edgar. You do not stop it." I stepped forward, the revolver steady. "Storms pass, and when they do, people rebuild." Jonah surged up, slamming the intruder's head against the floor. The man went limp. Jonah staggered to his feet, blood on his shirt. 10 seconds, Mercer screamed. Dr. Ross exhaled. "Then let's begin again." She raised her pistol. I fired. The shot cracked through the way station, exploding the silence. My bullet hit the wall inches from her shoulder, splintering wood. Deliberate. Close enough to warn, not kill. Close enough to remind her that I still had a choice. She froze. The slightest flicker of surprise. The first true fracture in her composure. Jonah roared, charging her. She turned too slow, and he slammed her against the counter. The pistol skittered across the floor, disappearing beneath a row of filing cabinets. 5 seconds, Mercer yelled. I turned and sprinted down the hall. Jonah held Ross down, grunting through the pain in his ribs. I reached the comms room just as Mercer shoved the last switch upward. A long, high beep filled the space. Then the uplink screen flashed green. Upload complete. For a moment. Just one fragile second. The station felt like a church, silent, sacred, full of breath held in prayer. Mercer sagged into his chair, hands shaking. "It's out there now," he breathed. "Federal servers, state archives, whistleblower bureaus. If they want to bury it, they'll need to burn half the South." I nodded. My eyes stung, though I wasn't sure why. Relief, exhaustion, or the ghost of a promise. Behind us, Jonah staggered into the doorway, blood streaked down his arm. "They're falling back," he said. I think the gunshot scared them, or the dark. I knew better. They weren't scared. They were recalculating. Dr. Ross stood slowly, hands raised now. No weapon, no advantage. Just a woman facing the end of her thread. "You might have bought time," she said, "but we will adapt." Mercer stepped forward, revolver in hand. "Then adapt through a cell." Ross's eyes hardened. "This isn't over." "No," I said quietly. "It's just the first page." Outside, vehicles peeled away. Gravel spit under spinning tires. The black sedan was the last to leave, taillights shrinking like dying embers. Jonah leaned heavily against the desk. "What now?" I looked around the way station. The broken doors, the shattered glass, the map pulsing with names like tombstones. I thought about my wife Anna peeling oranges in the kitchen. I thought about the bus stations and motels, the nights I thought disappearing was survival. And I knew the answer. "Now," I said, "we make sure they can't take another person off the map." Mercer let out a low laugh. "Tired, haunted, but alive. You got somewhere to start?" I nodded. "Birmingham. That red pulse on the map. The place where the network is heaviest. We tear it down from the inside, piece by piece." Jonah straightened. "Then I'm driving." Mercer holstered the revolver. "And I'm coming." Outside, dawn cracked open the sky. Soft gold over the pines. It looked like a world I hadn't seen in years. A world where fight didn't mean running. I stepped out of the way station, letting the morning hit my face. The air tasted like rust and possibility. "I'm 66, I whispered. "And I'm not done yet." A promise to myself. A promise to Anna. A promise to everyone still trapped in Redcrest's ledger. Jonah opened the truck door for me. "You ready?" he asked. I climbed in, joints aching, heart steady. "Yes," I said. "Let's finish what they started." We pulled onto the road, leaving the way station behind. Not as an escape, but as a beginning. Because some storms aren't meant to be outrun. Some storms are meant to be fought. And if you've been listening this far, subscribe to the channel and let me know in the comments what time it is where you're watching from. It helps more than you know.